This is huge news for XRP that changes everything. Grayscale just took XRP one step closer to an ETF, but does this mean you should sell all your XRP because it's a buy the rumor, sell the news? Or does this mean load up on more XRP because we are set for a huge bullish rally? Well, Grayscale has launched Altcoin Trust in the past, and they did the same thing every time, so we know what we need to do with our XRP, and it's not what you think. So unless you're living under a rock, you've heard that Grayscale did launch a XRP Trust. XRP had a huge pump off this a couple days ago, and in fact, it is still kind of continuing in a bullish pattern. Now, when it comes to a trust versus an ETF, now, unlike an ETF, a trust will primarily trade over the counter. ETFs are going to be open for everybody. Retail can buy it, your grandma can buy it. Trusts are only going to be open for accredited investors, and these are people who have at least $1 million, not including their primary address, and make at least $200K a year. They are able to get in on some of these products ahead of you, ahead of retail. Now, Grayscale made history last time when they sued the SEC over their Bitcoin trust. They wanted to turn the Bitcoin trust into an ETF. They had to sue Gary Gensler and the SEC, and they were successful. And then that's why the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and the Grayscale Ethereum Trust later became ETFs. Now, Grayscale has a whole list of crypto products. We're going to just look at a few here because, like I said, when these altcoin trusts open, they do the same thing price-wise every single time. So let's just kind of look at what happened so we can determine what happens with XRP, and then I have a bold XRP price prediction after this. First one that launched was Grayscale Avalanche Trust, and it launched August 20th, 2024. Now, this green line is when the ETF launched, and we're going to compare Avalanche to Bitcoin to see did it overperform or did it underperform, and then we can use this to determine what is XRP's next move. Well, folks, we're going to see a theme here. Now, I'm going to measure from the bottom right before the ETF announced just to see how we ended up topping out. Avalanche ended up experiencing a 36% pump, and Bitcoin's pump was only 12%. So you can see Bitcoin actually didn't do nearly as well as Avalanche. Its pump was 3 times the amount of Bitcoin's. Next one we're looking at is Tau. This is the Grayscale BitTensor Trust, and it launched June 10th. Now, the Tau Trust ended up launching all the way back here, June 10th, and Bitcoin and the crypto market as a whole basically was in a downtrend. So I want to measure what happened once we were in a positive trend, because I think we're in a positive trend with Bitcoin right now. So I think it's going to be more important for XRP. And you can see here, over about 15 days after it found the bottom, Tau ended up having a huge pump, pumped 85%. But what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin relatively was weak compared to that. Over its 15 days, only pumped 25%. So once again, we saw the altcoin over triple Bitcoin's performance. Now let's look at the Grayscale SWI Trust, and it launched August 1st. Now, SWI is similar to Tau. Once it launched, crypto was in a downtrend, so let's measure what ended up happening after it found a bottom and it had a bounce. SWI ended up having a huge pump after it found a bottom a few days later. So you can see over 7 days, it pumped 140% over 1 week. Bitcoin during the same week only pumped 21%. So once again, after this Grayscale Trust, this altcoin started wildly outperforming Bitcoin. And last but not least, we're looking at MakerDAO, then we're going to look at XRP. Now, MakerDAO kind of launched near enough a bottom, so we're going to measure from the bottom here. Now, it had a nice little pump. It pumped about 22% over 6 days and ended up hitting about 25% over 17 days. But when we look at Bitcoin, that same 25% pump ended up only being 18% pumps. So this is the first time it barely overperformed Bitcoin, but yet again, you can see it overperformed Bitcoin. And I think XRP in a bullish channel is also going to overperform Bitcoin. Now, let's do a little price analysis. Now, we're looking at XRP from this peak right here, which was in 2018, and you can see it had a new peak, and then a lower high, and then a lower high, and now people are wondering, are we ever going to break out of this triangle? Now, one thing we're seeing right here is diminishing returns, so we're going to measure this, and then this is going to determine our next pump for this next coming bull cycle. Now, we're going to measure from this low and then measure to the peak here. You can see we pumped about 1,400%, so we had about a 1,400%, but then this is where it starts to get a little shocking. After we pumped 1,400%, we had another pump, and that pump was 700%. So you can see it got cut in half. And so I think the next pump is going to be cut in half yet again, and that's going to give us a 350% pump for XRP. Now, if we measure from this local low that we just hit, a 350% pump is going to put us right at a $2 XRP. You can see it up there. Now, this is where it starts to get really interesting. If we go ahead and draw out a horizontal line at this $2 range, well, look at that. That is actually almost perfectly hitting the previous top, hitting against this trend line here. And so I think it's a very, very strong possibility that XRP will break out of this triangle, but you're going to be looking at some very strong resistance at at $2. So if you've been holding XRP for years and you're just getting impatient with it, you wanted to do something, you want to poke it with the stick, I would say be patient. After a Grayscale Trust is launched, those altcoins typically overperform Bitcoin in a major way, and I think XRP can overperform Bitcoin in a major way, and that is going to be the fuel needed to break out of this range. I think once we break out of this triangle, we're going to be looking to test this range right here. So it is going to have some resistance. It's going to slow down. There will be some pullbacks, but if you're a long-term investor, I think you can definitely get a $2 XRP this cycle. And that's all I got for you, and I'll see you in your XRP bags at the top.